Check 1 2 3. Check 1 2 3. Is this mic on? Test, 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 test. Is that working? Holy cow. All right, let's see. Eric's here. Says, yes, it's great to see you back. Well, thank you. It's good to be seen back. Richard's here with a Corona. Oh, I should have brought a Corona. That would have been a great way to intro the show. Jan is here. Good to see you alive and back on your feet. Thank you. I am back. Tim, what a relief. We were worried. Thank you very much. Well, yeah, I am back. I am back. Back with, as they say, back with a vengeance. Back with a new perspective. How about that? Yeah, there we go. So we've got some lemonade. Got to stay hydrated. Oh, that is so good. And an interesting show today. This is the show that we were going to do last week that we didn't get to do, plus some other goodies. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. But yeah, let's see. How are we doing on the other shows here? Facebook. Streaming Idiots. Has that show started yet? Don't know that. Schedule. Yeah, there it is. Okay, we did schedule it. Just doesn't show up. All right. All right. Sorry about that. I just we had scheduled a show for Streaming Idiots page on Facebook, and the picture that we put with it was not showing up. So there, what do you say about that? What do you say about Facebook? Holy cow. I mean, you just never know about Facebook. You never know about any of this stuff, frankly, because it can change anytime it wants to, and they don't have to ask anybody's permission. They just change it. Holy cow. So let's see, are we streaming in we're streaming on YouTube? Let's just check. Live. Okay, that says live. That's good. That must mean that we are what? We are live. Okay. All right. Good. Martin is here. Welcome, sir. Yes, it is good to be back. It's good to be seen. It's good to be heard. Yep. And I'll give you my my overview of this virus thing here in just a minute. Tim says, does it mean that the COVID didn't really go away on November 4th? I don't think I had it back then. I don't know what it was. MCP Live TV, welcome. Glad to have you. Welcome to our little band, as it were, our little group, our club, our gang. Let's see. Daniel's here. Welcome. Glad you're here. Thank you. Good to be seen. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yep. Just, kind of FYI. 2 weeks ago I was feeling bad, but it was just a thing. I don't know what it was. It was a thing. I don't think it was COVID, because I got over it the next day and I felt great for a week. And then Sandy and I went on a road trip down to Tampa, Florida, to visit two of our sons and their spouses and families. And we were all gathered together in an outing on a Friday night. And then we were gathered together at a baseball game on Saturday, and then a soccer match on Sunday, and then a birthday party on Sunday afternoon. And we were around a lot of people, and sometimes we were in masks and sometimes we weren't. And I think that's where it happened. And so as it turned out, 6 of us were exposed. And the younger group, the next generation down, they seemed to do fine. They had, light cough, or, a day where they slept a lot. But none of them went to the hospital. None of them they got tested, but there were no treatments. Sandy and I got it probably worse, and we took probably 2.5 days, off and just slept. Got tested, and they said, "Yep, you got it. Don't do anything. don't be around anybody." And I had a little bit of fever one day, a little bit, 101. And it kind of came and went, and some Tylenol took care of that. And then I'm a heart patient, so the doc that saw us said, we want you on steroids just to keep your breathing up. So we went out and actually bought one of those little blood saturation measuring devices. I think it's called an oximeter, so that we could monitor our blood oxygen. And blood oxygen apparently is just all over the map. Goes from 90, what did we have? I had a low of 89 one day, and a couple hours later it was up to 98. So go figure. But anyway, it's a tool, and we continue to use that tool, and then every day felt better, a little bit more strength. This has probably been going on 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks till today, and I felt pretty good. I've been working, just not working all day every day, trying not to overdo it. So yeah, there we go. So is it a very blue shirt? It is a very blue shirt, and it's almost, the color that I'm looking at is almost the color of the shirt. It's closer today than I've been able to get it most days. But maybe it's just because it's kind of a shiny shirt that it makes it difficult. Rich said, sounds like COVID. Some people have it for a few days and okay. Yeah. And the question is, like everybody, at least all my friends that worry say, be careful that, you don't get a relapse. Some people, it comes back on them. So we're kind of taking it easy and one day at a time, but feeling good today. Felt good yesterday. Felt good the day before. Hope to feel good tomorrow. Tess is here. Welcome, Tess. I guess that's Tess. She's hiding behind a little twirly board there. Welcome back. Thank you very much. Good to be back. We're going to get started with the show here in about 15 minutes, something like that. I've got a little countdown. Actually, 12 minutes, it says right here. I've got a clock up there on the wall, but it's a battery-operated analog, which is kind of nice, actually. So the virus, when it first came out back in February, I thought, it would probably be kind of cool to get it, just so you can say you got it, because this is a worldwide event, and 10 years from now, 20 years from now, when you're talking with people about it, you're like, yeah, I got that, and this was my experience. So I didn't run out and try to get it, but it found its way to me. And but I was talking with my hairdresser today. She did my hair for the first time in, golly, 7 weeks, 8 weeks, something like that. And she was in the hospital for 6 days. It affected her liver, and they didn't want to mess around with that. So they wanted where they could monitor her more closely. So she had a pretty serious experience, whereas her boyfriend had same as me, a couple days down and then back in the saddle. So go figure. Glad that she came through it okay. Glad that we came through it okay. Yep. And to Sandy, if she's watching, Sandy is going a little slower than I am, which is okay. We all go at our own pace. So there we go. So if you're thinking about getting this, I would encourage you to go ahead and get it. Not really. Don't get it. Because then you got to quarantine and you can't see people, and you miss out and all that stuff. Tess says, we missed you at the Worship Summit, but Alan Bunt did a great job on my behalf. Well, good. That's great. In fact, that's what today's show is going to be, the presentation that we were going to give last week, including a live shot of the church sanctuary remotely. So it'll be a lot of fun. We'll get in and play with some of the toys on that one and talk about the toys. Because they're all just toys. All this stuff is just toys. They're all toys. They're just toys for big kids, and sometimes for little kids. I had some gear left over, so I built my 10-year-old grandson a live streaming PC and took it to him a while back. And he's literally a kid, and he loves it. He's going to be a YouTuber, he says. And I've got TeamViewer on there, so it pops up on my end and tells me whenever he comes online. It's really kind of funny. Yep. So if you're going to get COVID, I highly encourage it. Definitely recommended. If when you sign up for COVID and you'd sign up for the different versions, I would go for the light version. That's the one I signed up for, and that definitely was the better one to take, I think. Go for the light one, definitely. Don't go for the heavy duty, go into the hospital one. That's just not as much fun. Let's see, where are we here? Let's go into this real quick and have a look. Can we see anything? Hold on just a second. Data currently unavailable. Okay, well, let's don't go back in. Let's don't do that. Let's go, bear with me. Bear with me, please. Let's go to the go live. Yeah, there we go. And we'll go into it here. One day we got to come in and kind of explore all of this new YouTube stuff. Yeah. Dean is here. Hello, Dean. Yes, happy Thanksgiving to you too. Holy cow. It is good to be back. Good to be back. We've got just a few more minutes here. A couple of things that we'll be talking about. Well, we've got three main subjects today. One main subject. One main subject is I want to show you guys our live streaming setup at the church. It's not fancy at all. It's very, very simple. And then I want to talk to you a little bit about this guy. Yeah, that's a nice toy. And then I want to talk to you a little bit about this guy. That's a nice toy. And so we'll get to those if we can. We'll just have to wait and see. Excuse me. One of the things that I was left over with was a nice dry cough. So we got the cough out of the way. Oops. This is the don't you just love that ringtone? Play along with me here. Hey, babe, what's up?
Hey, have you set up a Medicare account online?
Yes.
Do you know your password or anything?
It's written down on a piece of paper on my dresser.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Do you want to say hi to all the people that are watching?
No, thank you.
Okay, bye. She doesn't want to say hi. Oh, that's too funny. Oh my gosh. Too funny. She's like, oh, whoops. Sorry about that. Yeah. So let's see. Heart Light VTube. Welcome. Glad you caught us live. Living Water CVA. Oh, from Chesapeake, Virginia. Oh, all right. I love the Chesapeake area. I love the Chesapeake area for sure. We have a family house on one of the little inlets that goes out to the Chesapeake. So we love that area. Around about Gloucester and Matthews County, Gwynns Island, around those areas. Oh, Andrew is here. Glad you're okay. Was concerned for you. Thank you very much. I am very okay. And I will say that your videos sustained me during my brief illness because I was working on my keyboards, my Bird Dog keyboards. All right. John says, Tom, you're looking good, Tom. Video is crap, but you look good. Oh, well, I'm sorry to see that. I worked on that today. Oh, he says the video is fine too. Okay. Gee whiz. Yeah, the Bird Dog guys pushed out a big firmware update on their PTZ camera line. I guess was it Monday maybe, or maybe it was over the week. No, it was last Friday. That's right. They did a big seminar and pushed it out, and I think first time it was available was Monday. So it's a baseboard update and a firmware update to the P100, P200, P400, and P4K, and maybe another other. And it adds some cool features. You know, those Bird Dog guys, they're always unlocking features in the stuff that you already own. And one of the features makes the color matching much easier to do. Assam, welcome from Dubai, where it's midnight. Holy cow. And Heartlight TV Tube is in Trinidad and Tobago. Well, that would be a great place to spend Thanksgiving in TNT, for sure. How are we doing here? About 3 minutes. Okay. So, yeah, we're recovering from coronavirus. And on a scale of 1 to 10 in my illness experiences, I give the coronavirus about a 5. You know, it tried really hard to put me down, but it really just didn't have the oomph to do it. It was just I would say it was a medium to bad flu. And we'll see. You know, some people say you have the long-term effects, memory and weakness and things like that. We'll see. We'll see if it happens. But for right now, it was just a flu. It was just a flu. Andres is here. Welcome. Glad to have you. Long time since he's watched us live. Mike is here. Glad you're okay, Tom. Thank you very much. I am glad I'm okay too. Yeah. Holy cow. And it's good to be on the okay side of things. Yeah. On the energetic, looking forward to life side of things. All right. So coming up on Showtime here in just a few minutes, we're going to be talking about this is the presentation I was going to give last week. That unfortunately I wasn't able to do it. It is going to be an overview of how we do live streaming at my church, Grace Church in Fairhope, using vMix and a PTZ Optics camera. So there we go. Tim says, don't minimize COVID. It's like Russian roulette. For some, it's deadly. Lost 2 members of his family so far. Tim, I am so sorry to hear that. And I don't mean to diminish it in your family's experience at all. And I do know that, you know, for folks that have other health things going on in their life, I was talking with my mom about this yesterday, and she's got heart problems. She's got breathing problems. She's got, I think she has a liver issue, although that hasn't come up lately. And she's, I would say obese, which apparently is one of the big factors in morbidity is being obese. And so, she's just sitting duck. And fortunately, her nursing home facility has done an amazing job of protecting all of them since February. They have, I think, about 600 residents, and not a single one of the residents has gotten sick. And of course, no one's died. They've had 2 staff members that have tested positive, and they jumped right on top of that stuff. They restricted visitation immediately. And so it was just maybe 10 weeks ago that they loosened it up to the point where my wife and I could go and visit my mom for 2 hours one day, and not in her room, but in a different part of the facility that was cleaned before we got in there and then cleaned after. They've taken it very seriously and done a fabulous job of protecting her and all the other residents. So my hat tip to that. That's Westminster Canterbury in Charlottesville, Virginia. So John says, by the way, Tom, shouldn't you wear a mask here in public? Well, I'm not really. I'm virtually. I may be in public, but literally, I'm here all by myself. There's Clint. Clint, thank you very much. I'm glad I'm feeling better too. There's Kenny. Hey, Kenny, I owe you a note. We did get the camera back. Thank you very much. Would love to chat with you at some point about that. And Heartlight TV Tube says, I've not seen my mom in 4 months. Yeah, boy, what was it? February to October for me before I finally got to see her. She's 87 and she missed us. She's got 3 boys. So it was good to see her. Although I was supposed to see her tomorrow, and the fact that Sandy and I have been exposed and are now recovering means that we're not going to get anywhere close to that place, so we're staying home. So that's just the way it goes. All right, well, let's get this show on the road. We are ready for the showtime. So we're going to do the showtime intro, and we'll be right back with the beginning of the show. 1 sec. There we go. All right. Welcome to Streaming Idiots. I'm Tom Sinclair, your host. We have been off the air for the last week and the week before that because of illness. Last week actually was bona fide. It was a COVID thing. And 2 weeks ago, it was just a bad day. Just not feeling well that day. Not associated to it. But on the mend from COVID. In total, 6 members of my family were exposed, Sandy and I, and then our 2 boys or 2 of our boys and their wives. So that's 6, and that generation has done well. I don't know that they even missed a beat. Maybe they stayed home from. Well, they've all been quarantined, so they're all staying home, but they seem to be doing pretty well. And Sandy and I are on the mend too, and so. Thank you so much to all of those of you that have been lifting us up in prayer and being concerned about us. We sure do appreciate that, and especially the prayers. They are very effective. I was telling my mom that last night. I said, Mom, you've got effective prayers. Don't stop praying. You've got effective prayers. She's 87. So good to be on the mend with that. Last week, we were going to welcome Otis. Glad you could make it. Last week, we were going to be on the Worship Summit, Worship Summit 4, and talk about live streaming from our little church here in Fairhope, Alabama, and didn't get to do that. And so since we've got this really cool presentation all fired up and ready to go, I wanted to get it out there for folks that I think it's really encouraging because I'm a gear guy. I build gear and ship it all over the place for all sorts of folks. But for our own church, our needs were really, really simple. It's a small church. Average Sunday attendance is probably 35 people. Since COVID, well, recently, I guess it's been probably about 35 on Sunday and then maybe about 10 watching. So actually the numbers have probably bumped up a little bit with the COVID crisis. But it's a very simple setup. And originally the pastor was not a big fan, but he's not a techno person to begin with. And so I think he had some difficulty understanding that people would actually watch it, which of course they do, but it's a different story. We all have our bridges that we have to cross. And so, but he's a big believer now. I mean, he sees it, he knows it, and especially in the situation where we were shut down completely for, I think, about 3 or 4 weeks. That was the only way that we could communicate worship. And we did the whole thing live, just online. And are continuing to take that model and push it forward. So let me show you. Let's start out with what we're using, and we'll go to the specs. These are the specs. Let's see. Can we turn that off? There we go. There we go. These are the specs. So it's not a fancy system. It's not a new system. It's an i7 2600K. So that's a second generation, 3.4 gigahertz quad core. Good little CPU. In fact, as you look back over the life of Intel CPUs, the 2600K was one of the outstanding ones. vMix recommends 8 to 16 gigabytes of RAM. This one has 8. It doesn't have a big fancy video card. It just has actually something that I found in my parts bin, an NVIDIA GTX 750 Ti. Just for curiosity, I put the CUDA cores down there because that's what vMix uses as kind of its rating system for the cards. The CUDA cores, that's kind of a measurement of NVIDIA branded horsepower. Let's just call it that way. So 640 CUDA cores. It doesn't have super duper solid state drives. It's got a terabyte hard drive as actually the main drive, and then a 250 gigabyte hard drive as the backup drive. It is notable that both those drives are 7,200 RPM. It won't work very well with a 5,400 RPM, which some of the older, less expensive ones does. And probably the last note of interest is there's no capture card. So, and we'll explain how we did that in just a minute. How can you have video without a capture card? The other thing is at the very bottom that I'll mention, and this is a big no-no, frankly, is that we're using Wi-Fi. We're using Wi-Fi to get our PC onto the internet simply because it is just onerous to get a cable from the router location, the modem location, to where the PC is. We'd have to run it through the lobby and all sorts of other things like that. And I'm just not willing to do that. We do give up a little bit of speed. You see we've got 32 megabits per second down and 6 megabits per second up. We didn't start out that way. We got upgraded about 1.5 years ago, but prior to that, I think we had 1 megabit up. And so that was a real challenge to do the live streaming. So, those are kind of the specs. You can kind of keep those in mind as we go through this. Let me give you an idea of what the sanctuary looks like. So we'll go here. This is the sanctuary, and you can see that we social distance, groups of 3s for families, but with 6 feet between the rows and between the aisles. Just kind of orientation. You see kind of the green part right up in the back. That's the altar area. To the left of that is the music ministry area, and to the right of that is the projection area. And so we'll go to the next slide. Next slide. This is a room that is adjacent to the sanctuary, but it doesn't have, you can't see the sanctuary from it. This is the PC that I built for the church. Again, not super fancy. We're actually doing a countdown right there, so that anybody that walks by can see that we're counting down to starting the service. And we also have that same countdown available over NDI that goes to a Mac Mini that's in the sanctuary that's running Pro Presenter, so that the folks in the sanctuary can see the same countdown. Here's a little closer look. Let's see, can we get it? Yeah, there we go. There's a little closer look of the PC, and then of course we've just taken the one of the inputs and done the large preview that you can do in vMix. And I do this during the sermon so that I can see the sermon. I can see the pastor a little bit better as he's preaching. You can see my lemonade off there to the left. In the just opposite this wall in the sanctuary is the PTZ Optics camera. and this is a PT 12X, and it is the Generation 1. So it's the original version. It does not have built-in PTZ. PoE. So what we do is we insert power into the cable. This is at the PC. So we're taking the LAN, which says, you can see my label, it says to PC, so that plugs into the back of the PC. And then the light gray cable goes to the camera, which now has power on it. And then the third connection over on the left is actually the power connection. And then once it gets to the camera, I should have had a shot of this, but I didn't have a ladder the day I was taking these pictures. At the camera, we have a splitter that splits off power and data. And so we plug into the power jack on the back of the PC, and then we plug into the Ethernet jack on the back of the PC. You can see the Wi-Fi antennas here, and that gets us a pretty good connection. And one of the things that I like to do is to do work remotely. So this is just a note to whoever might be coming through and feel like, oh, they left their computer on. Please leave this on. Please leave this on. This is supposed to be on in this situation. And then on a typical Sunday morning, this is what the vMix might look like. This is what vMix might look like. You can see there, I think, maybe 10 or 11 different inputs right there. And basically they are presets, most of them are presets for the PTZ camera. Let's see, this is a shot here of during the service, and that's the recording going on. And you get just kind of a feel for the pastor's style at that point. And then you can see that, in fact, I'm going to pause that one right there for just a second. Whoops, there we go. So we're running at 1080p, 2997. The render time is at this point 14 milliseconds, which is I think it's just a tad high. Generally, it rolls around 8. GPU memory is 43%, but remember, we don't have a very big card. CPU vMix is 12% and total CPU is 16%. So we're really not stressing this system very much. And it does seem to do really, really well. We don't have any dropped frames in the recordings or the live stream. And we're able to live stream at, I think we're live streaming to Facebook and to YouTube at 720p each. So that allows us to have a pretty good live stream for folks to see. Here's just a little shot. Sorry about the blurriness of the picture. Obviously, that's the monitor. This is Tony, our worship leader. And, you know, I'll mention this. Let me go ahead and switch over to a live shot of the of vMix on TeamViewer. There we go. So this is a live TeamViewer shot right here. And one of the things that I really love to do, I mean, obviously we've got the ability to just click on an input and the camera will move to that input. So not a problem in doing that. Sometimes TeamViewer is a little slow to keep up, so don't pay any attention to that. But But what I like to do is I like to use keyboard shortcuts, and so that I can mimic a live camera person a little bit more than the mechanical operation here. So I've got the page up and page down buttons set as zoom out and zoom in buttons, and then the cursor buttons, the left, right, up, down buttons, set as my pan tilt. So I'm gonna zoom out, and I'm gonna go left, and then I'm gonna zoom in while I'm going left, and then I'm gonna use a space bar to stop all of that. And now I've pretty well hit the worship section. So we'll go back here, and you can see this is the shot that I'm trying to get right there, and I'm able just to use, yeah, you can see that second one is just now responding, but that's just TeamViewer, and at this point now I can, between the page down button, which is zoom in, and the space bar, which is stop, I can zoom in a little bit and see, what's going on in that position. Oh, I guess I've got to get into TeamViewer over here. Let's try again. There we go. And so I can zoom all the way in. Now this is a 12x zoom, and this is probably about 40 feet from the back wall to this worship session right here. I wish I had a little bit more zoom, but this is really suitable. Again, this is the shot that we're getting right there when we want to do that, and it works out pretty well. Some other things that work well for us is the ability to to flash up a quick graphic that says, you can make your offering by sending a check. If you want to send a check, there's the address, by the way. Or if you want to send a text message to this number, we'll send you a link to the church's PayPal account. And so that's what everybody at home would see. Or the vMix will do a QR code. So we say, hey, if you're watching this on your TV, or if you're watching it later, you can use your phone's camera to view this code, and that'll take you to the PayPal account. I am not always the only one to do this. I have a couple of folks that help me, and so we've just made up a quick graphic that has the shortcuts on there. And there's our up and down, our left and right, and our in and out, and then the space to stop. We also have one simple analog input of audio. And what that means is that sometimes different parts are different volumes. And so by setting up a shortcut under the G key, G for gain, we can add 8 decibels of gain to the broadcast. And that's typically when the preacher's preaching, we'll add the gain to it. And that the H key, which just happens to be right next to the G key on the keyboard, will return that gain to 0, so that when the preacher's done preaching and we're about to have some music, instead of the music just being just bloody loud, we can bring it back to a gain of 0 there. Sometimes during the course of the service, they will play recorded music in the sanctuary, and we don't want Facebook to block that out. So a quick hit of the W button will fade out the main audio and fade in a little song that we have the rights to, and Facebook acknowledges that we have the rights to that. And then a Q will fade out the song and fade the main audio back in again. So those are just little kind of quick helpful shortcuts. One of the other things that goes on behind the scenes too is the ability to use triggers. Excuse me. So here's some triggers that we use to, again, control the audio. I think this happens at the very beginning where it starts the recording. It fades out a song. It cuts to a different overlay, and then does some other things, whatever it might be. And the end result is that we get a broadcast that looks pretty darn good. Again, not terribly fancy. Sometimes right now we don't have it, but generally there'll be a lower third up there identifying the preacher or identifying the scripture or identifying the church, one of the three. And that is very simply how we do that job. And it's really a lot of fun. It's not super simple. It's not super complicated. We are using vMix. We're using the Pro version because I have one on hand that I can use for that. But we would need at least the vMix 4K version in order to be able to control the cameras using the presets or using the keys on the keyboard, the shortcuts. In fact, I'm working on a project right now. I have come into a number of previously used motherboards, CPUs, RAMs, and that's actually a little Magewell one-port HD capture card right there. I've come into a number of these that I think I want to repurpose and make available for folks to use for live streaming. And the question is, how are we going to move cameras? In this case, we already have a capture card, so we may just do a handheld with it. So it's going to be an interesting project. We're putting together a prototype right now, and I think the idea basically is just to sell it at cost. So if you know a church that would like to be live streaming and is doing something with their phone now or something. Okay, that was interesting. Let's see if we can figure out what went on there. We can still hear you in another mic. That's amazing. Yeah, my PC has COVID. Actually, in that case, all of a sudden, vMix just disappeared. Just stopped working. By the way, I should mention that I am using the beta vMix 24, which you should not use for live production. We're streaming 1080p, 60 frames a second to Facebook and to YouTube, and those streams should be back active again now. Why? It's interesting that you might have been able to hear audio while vMix was quote-unquote no longer functioning. That's probably not the case, but we just don't know. We just don't know. Okay, well, let's see if we can get back to where we were there. Let's move that over there where it was. Interesting. You just never, ever know. Don't think it was the internet, because vMix just simply was no longer an active piece of software. Yep, we'll do an error report. In fact, well, let's go ahead and do that right this second before we forget, before everything else gets too far. Send support report. Okay, there we go. We'll see if we can identify what might have happened at that point. Support report has sent. Please email vMix report the registration key. Yeah, I'll do that in a minute. Okay, well, sorry about that. So the idea is that we've got these, essentially a PC with a CPU and RAM, and we've got a solid state SATA drive that we can repurpose, and then this Magewell card over here that will do one port of either HDMI or component. All it needs is a cable, which the folks at Magewell will send us for free. It's kind of an interesting little card. Let's pop it out here. And you can see it's got a DVI connector here, and so there's a pigtail that connects to that will have the breakout for the HDMI and the component, and then there's a 3.5 millimeter for audio here, and this is still a card. This unit right here is probably about, I guess, 7 years old. I mean, well, it's a 4400. Excuse me, it's a 4770 CPU, so it's 4th generation. And this is a model number 11030, which I think is still sold, but it's not very popular. It's just a single port, but it's 1080p 60, so it says. So anyway, I didn't test this particular one, but I tested out one last night, and it worked beautifully. I was able to get the folks at Magewell to send me a cable. Thank you very much, Daryl, for doing that. So we'll make these available, I think, as a good low-cost way for folks that don't have a lot of dollars to get into live streaming. So if you happen to know a nearby church, or maybe even your church, that would like to get into live streaming and just doesn't have a budget, at all, we think that with, I don't want to venture a number yet, but I'd like to put a whole package together, including an inexpensive camera, and I think we can do that for less than $750. So, and that would be a 1080p high quality live streaming system with vMix HD. So it would be, kind of not really a no compromise system in a lot of ways, other than it just has some older gear. So we'll see. I mean, if you're interested, let me know, and we may go a different way with that. The other project that we're working on involves this little guy, and this is the i9 10980XE, and this is an 18-core 36-thread CPU. It's a beast. I think I haven't even opened it yet, but I've got the motherboard on hand. I've got the RAM on hand. I have an RTX 2080 Ti coming in to match up with this. The idea for this guy is that this will be a prototype to match up with the new vMix version 24 that will use 8 cameras and instant replay. And according to Martin Sinclair, it's going to take a CPU like this to be able to handle that kind of amount of data. So we're putting together sort of what I call a prototype machine to see if we can make all that work together, and what the limitations are. Maybe there aren't any. So if you're interested in that machine, shoot me a note and let me know, and we'll kind of keep you on the list of folks that that are interested on that machine. So so that's that. So if you've got, we're going to move into the post show. If you've got some questions on our Grace Church live streaming setup, or on our low end prototype, or our high end prototype, or the Bird Dog major firmware update, we will take those in just a second. Okay, I think we're back here. Let's see. We got audio. There we go. There we go. And Rich explains why we had the glitch there just a minute ago. Well, of course, it's a it's a COVID. Everything's a COVID. Yes. So we appreciate your comments. Well, we appreciate some of your comments. When will the real Tom be back? This is an imposter. The show started and ended on time. Yeah, well, it's I've been affected in the head by the virus. That must be it. Living Waters here's typing, so that's probably me. It could be me just drumming on the desk too. Sometimes I'll do that. I apologize. I think Jan had asked a while back what version of Windows. If we're talking about this guy, we're probably obviously going to use Windows Pro. If we're talking about this little guy, we're going to use Windows Home, just simply for economy purposes. But the idea is that everything would be licensed and supported. There wouldn't be any kind of gray area or compromise in that regard. So let's see. DJ Ware asked a little while ago, is that a Cooler Master case? And yes, the case at the church is a Cooler Master case. And it was one of those things that we had the case on hand. It was from a different project that didn't work out, and so we just put the case back in the box and threw it up on a shelf, and it was time to bring it down and try it on another one. Now I have heard some rumors out there that there are some things, a new event coming out that will be turkey bowling. So Rich says that there's going to be a live streaming about turkey bowling. I would like to see that in the flesh. I've heard about, what was it, WKRG in Cincinnati that threw the frozen turkeys out of the helicopter. That was a disaster. That was a long time ago. Let's see. Jan, going back to his Windows question, says it was more the build of version that just crashed for you. The latest 20H2 seems to be the most solid in a long time. Well, let's see what we've got here. I thought we had 20H2, but we'll find out. Let's go to System and About, and we have 20H2 right here. But it wasn't Windows that bombed out just a second ago. It was actually vMix. So we'll have a go at that and see what we can find. Let's see. Daniel says, Thanksgiving, the time of year to search for why you shouldn't deep fry a frozen turkey. Yeah, like, doesn't it explode? Oh my gosh. It was WKRP. WKRP, that's right. WKRP in Cincinnati. That was an amazingly foul play. They wanted just to give away turkeys. They thought it would be a great idea to give away turkeys and, you know, just throw them out of a helicopter. I think they were frozen turkeys, but maybe they were live turkeys and they wouldn't fly. I don't remember the exact storyline on that one, but it was kind of a classic, you know, and it's a TV show from the 80s. Goodness gracious. Yep. So no questions. All right. Well, that's good. That's good. That means that you're either sound asleep or you already knew all that stuff, which probably is the case. Probably is the case. Yep. Oh, there we go. As God is my witness, I swore turkeys could fly. So they weren't frozen turkeys. They were live turkeys. They were just bombed. Oh, that's great. That's great. All right, Daniel's got a question. Do you have FEIM enabled in vMix 24 beta? FEIM. I have no clue what FEIM is. FEIM enabled. FEIM. Is that a streaming portion or a recording portion? Or help me out with that one, Daniel. I am not sure what the FEIM is. Oh, here we go. It is faulty encoder isolation mode. Well, I don't know. Let's take a look. Faulty encoder isolation mode. I have never even heard of that. So it probably means I don't have it enabled. It's an NDI process isolation. Okay, is it an option? Is it a performance option? Is it a, you said it was an encoder option, not a decoder option. Yeah, tell me where it is. I don't know where it is. Meanwhile, Michael Graves has a pending blog post on an interesting matter comparing the NewTek scan converter vMix desktop capture and a BirdDog Mini to see which can reliably deliver 1080p 60. Ooh, well, please post that in Streaming Idiots when the time comes. That would be great. That would be great. All right. And Danielle says that FEIM is one of the news in vMix 24 settings performance. Not on mine. Not on mine. Let's see if I can get a window to you here. Oh, you know what? I can't do it with that open. Let's see. Let's go back here. So let's go. We're just going to open that for a second. And we're going to open the settings window. and we'll drag it out there so you can see it. And here's the performance tab. And I don't happen to have that alert. Do we have any other? What about an advanced setting maybe? Oh, do we have some advanced settings here? Yep, there it is. NDI faulty encoder isolation mode. How about that? Well, we'll definitely check that. I think we probably have to restart in order to get it. Nope, we didn't have to restart in order to get it. So there we go. Thank you, Daniel. Good to know. And he says the same thing. I probably can't change it without restarting vMix. Well, apparently, yes. Apparently you can. So there we go. All right, Rich has got a question here. Tom, can you recommend a wide-angle camera other than GoPros? Looking for a 120-degree shot. Anybody help Rich on that one? I cannot. I don't use GoPros or things like GoPros. So I'm not of any help. I know Rich wants to glue them to the top of your forehead and put you on a jet ski with some wires sticking out so that he can get you on the news. All right, let's see. So Otis has got some help here. If you're in Houston, Texas area and you want to help Otis clean his garage, there's your opportunity right there. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, we are going to go back to our projects here then. Our lightweight church streaming repurposing project, and then our heavyweight 18-core CPU project. If you have an interest in either one of those, shoot me a note and would be glad to involve you and keep you in the loop on that. Rich, time for a hackathon on GoPro to allow changing lenses. Well, there you go. You probably could do that. Not up my alley, but I'm sure it can be done. Sure, it could be done. All right, Rich says, Martin and Tim are done making videos for the rest of the year. Maybe you can bring them in the show before 2020 ends. Well, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. I've been meaning to do that for a while. I'd like to bring them in, and I'd like to bring the Bird Dog guys in. So it would be good to get that whole Australian crew in. And True North Colorado is Dave. Welcome, Dave. Good to have you. Glad to see you. That explains a lot right there. Yes, it does. Yes, it do. Yes, it do. All right. Well, guys, we are going to push off at this point and see if we can send vMix a note. Find out why it disappeared today. If you have some ideas, shoot them to me. I would love to have them. And otherwise, I will catch you on the flip side. I will catch you on the flip side. Thanks for tuning in today. And we will see you guys. When will we see you? We will see you next week. Yes, we will see you next week. Everybody stay healthy. That's right.